Has Mario Draghi's tenure then been a success?
That depends very much on the counterfactual evidence you would imagine which would have happened if he hadn't done what he has done. I mean, for some, he's probably the rescuer of Europe, and the euro was at the brink in 2012. But then if you look at the later stage of of his tenure, you could argue that maybe he missed the timing to get out of the super expansionary policy and actually was forced to even add to that. So that's what critics will probably blame him for.
Yes, and there's certainly a lot of talk about that super expansionary policy hitting its limits. So when Christine Lagarde takes the helm, do you expect that to continue under her leadership?
First of all, I mean, basically Draghi has set the path by the decisions last month at the Council, basically saying that the path is now state dependent and that it takes a decent pickup in inflation, which is on a sustainable basis for the ECB basically to change its course on the basis of its own forecasts. That's not within the next 2-3 years. So in this regard, Lagarde probably has to continue the course, and actually we even assume that there will be most likely another 10 basis point cut in the deposit rate in the December meeting when Lagarde takes over.
OK, 10 basis point cut is what you're expecting in the December meeting. I mean, Mario Draghi ultimately is going to be remembered for those 3 words, whatever it takes, Stefan. But one thing, as you were sort of hinting at, that he might be criticised for as well is the fact that the actual official mandate in terms of inflation hasn't actually been reached. So do you think there'll be a policy review under Christine Lagarde? And if so, what should be changed?
I mean, there will certainly be a policy review. The question is, how wide will it be? And I think from a normative perspective, the ECB should consider, having a more kind of medium-term inflation target, because, I mean, what the tenor of Mr. Draghi has basically shown, and what we have seen with a lot of other central banks in the world, is that currently we have some deflationary forces at play, demographics, globalization and things like that, which cannot be overcome by monetary policy alone. Moreover, we even see that the fight of monetary policy to get inflation back to 2% is getting more, creating more and more negative side effects, property bubbles and things like that. So in this respect, I think the sole focus on consumer price inflation is probably too narrow, and the central bank should think about a bigger kind of inflation picture to take into account.
Stefan, will Christine Lagarde be able to convince Germany to open the fiscal taps?
I don't see that. As a German economist, if you talk to German politicians, they are saying basically that the economy is slowing, fair, but we are far from any kind of crisis, and we have built-in social fiscal stabilizers in the system which help to basically cushion this downswing. So as long as Germany is not facing a proper recession, and proper recession I mean something with GDP growth forecasts falling into negative territory for 2020, I don't think that Germany is prepared to open the fiscal coffers beyond what is already in place. I mean, that's something which is quite often overlooked. The German fiscal stance has eased this year, and it will continue to ease next year. And I mean, the officials have pointed out frequently that anything beyond that is facing severe capacity constraints, for example, in the construction sector. So the answer is no, I don't think that Lagarde will convince the German Minister of Finance to open the purse.